Renee Tucci, AIFD here, and 'tis the season for the most wonderful time of the year. We are heading back to school, and today we've got a very timely design to celebrate that. So I wanted to create a back-to-school design that will really knock the socks off of any teacher who's about to get immersed back in the classroom. So I'm going to start today with this beautiful bias bowl. It's a clear glass bowl and it's footed, and in my opinion, anytime a container is footed, that just raises the bar right there. It makes it so much more elegant. But we're going to treat this bowl a little different. So how should we get started? Well, first, we'll need some floral foam because we will be putting flowers into it. So I've got some of the Midnight Oasis here, the Midnight Floral Foam from the Smithers Oasis Company, and I have pre-hot glued it into this Lomey dish. So as you can see, it's all glued together here as one unit. And I'm going to take this and drop it into a bucket of water, and just take note of the color it is now. It's a light gray now. But as the foam absorbs the water, it actually turns from gray to black, and that's why it's called midnight foam. And the benefit of the midnight foam is that it actually just recedes into any design that you use. So you're able to use much less product than you originally might have if you were using the traditional green floral foam. Otherwise, you could also use it as part of an art-inspired design and actually allow large swaths of the foam itself to show. So that's an option as well. The foam soaks and absorbs very quickly. So we've already got it soaked here. And as you can see, it has gone from a gray to a black. So we're all set. I'm going to drop this right in the center of my bowl. And my plan is to pave the top of this bowl with red roses and red carnations. But of course we have this whole interior of the bowl to cover and fill as well. So I'd like to do that with teacher's favorite fruit, and that would be our apples. So I've specifically chosen different sized apples. I have miniature apples up to medium and large. And so doing this is a bit like a puzzle. So you have to lay them this way and that way. I like to start with a little in the front, a little in the back, and then on the sides, so that if the bowl starts to shift, the apples are now in place and will help hold everything together. And the benefit, I think, of mixing the sizes, the small and the medium and the large, is that it helps cover all the holes, the nooks and crannies a little more easily than if you just had big, juicy apples. So the mix of sizes really helps. Okay, so that's how I'm going to fill the interior of the bowl for right now. We may be able to slide a few more in later if we need them, but you can see I carefully left the area around my foam pretty empty so that I have room to insert my stems. So let's start doing that. I've got some beautiful red roses and red carnations here, and I thought they would be perfect to get this arrangement going with. So when you create a pave design, that's when you have all of your stems added either straight or on an angle, so that all of the flowers are positioned in the same plane, meaning there's no depth between the stems. And you'll hear this term a lot in reference to jewelry. A lot of rings and things like that have paved diamonds. In this case, we're doing paved roses and carnations, which I think is just as luxurious. So what I'm doing now is equally balancing the roses, putting a little here and a little there and leaving room for the carnations in between, because I do want a homogeneous mix of the two varieties. Now you can see I've been checking my roses over as I put them in, and any petals that are not looking great, I'm just discarding them. I'm also stripping the stems completely clear of any leaves so that we have just a clean stem that we're adding into the foam, and I'm making sure that that stem is going at least an inch or two into the foam so that it's got a great opportunity for hydration. So I'm happy with this amount of roses at this point. So I'm going to start adding my carnations. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead, I just want to add a few more apples on this side. At this point I can see this big open space, and that I will be able to just cover the top with the flowers. So I can go ahead and fill it with the apples now. I'd rather do it at this point than the beginning and have to rework. So it's a bit of a step-by-step puzzling process as you work this together. And I think we could take one more here. Okay, now if you could see any of the floral foam between the roses in the front, you really wouldn't, because it's just, as I said, receding into the design. So now I'm going to start adding my carnations in. Again, cutting them, cleaning their stems, cutting them just so that they can get a few inches into the foam. Making sure I'm fluffing the heads open so that they're as showy as possible. And at this point, after I'm done with the carnations, I don't want to leave any gaps. I don't want to see any spaces between the roses and the carnations. It should just be a full mass of flowers. Okay, so I've covered most of my space with the carnations and a few roses added in. I'm going to go back through and just make sure that all of my flowers are sitting exactly where they need to be to have that beautiful, lush pave effect where there's no depth between the stems, so one shouldn't be sitting up higher than another. I do want to add just a few more roses so that we let our favorite teacher know just how special she is and how much she deserves, which is the world. Our teachers have a tough job, and they're having an even tougher job lately, so we want to make sure that they feel special. I'm going to add just a few more roses in between my carnations, and I'll do that by just physically separating the carnations, finding space between them, and lowering the roses in. Okay, so now I'm pretty happy with the flowers. I'd just like to add a little more pizzazz, one more accent for our favorite flower, our favorite teacher. And we want to make sure that our favorite teacher has everything that they need, all the supplies that they need. So let's send along a little bit of chalk with our design. And we can do that in a creative way. So I'm going to take 3 pieces of white chalk. So we're going to take one of our U-glue dashes, and we're actually going to remove it from the paper so that we're just working with the bare dash. And once we get a trio of the chalk all lined up, take the U-glue and stretch it so that it wraps around the 3 pieces of chalk, just temporarily kind of holding them in place for us. And then I've got this red aluminum wire, this decorative wire, and I'm going to take this wire and create a band around the chalk. So not only will that help hold all of our chalk in place, but it also adds a decorative accent. So banding can be both functional and decorative. So once I've gone around our trio of chalk 3 times, let me stretch out my wire a little bit and cut myself a tail with my wire cutters. So I'm left with that. And now I can add that into my design. So again, I'm going to actually, with my hands, separate the flowers, add the chalk in, and then let it dangle. I've got a few more of those made up. And the white on this chalk is really special. It just sets everything off. After you've set your last trio of chalk, check it over and make sure you don't need to twist the angles of any of them. Make sure it's a fun and pleasing look. The great thing about them being on wire legs is that they can be twisted and contorted to whichever direction you'd like them. And just as a final touch, a little more glisten to the design, I've got some of these wire coils. So I made these with the same aluminum wire that we wrapped the chalk with. And here I've just taken the needle nose pliers and just started loosely coiling it in on itself a few times. Once I get it going, I can just do it with my fingers until I've got the size of a coil that I'm looking for. And then again, we'll add this in throughout the design, turning the coil so that it lays flush to the flowers and just adds another layer of dimension and texture. And there you have it. I think this is the perfect design to really knock the socks off of our favorite teachers. Good luck to all of our teachers, parents, kids, and administrators as you head back to school. And happy flowering!